Welcome to the JS Self Care Mind, Body, and Soul podcast. I am your host, Janell Santana Sims. Today's episode, we will be discussing healthy relationships with certified dating and relationship coach, Alison. Hello, Alison. Can you introduce yourself and tell us what is healthy dating in 2021? And if you're my age, the big 4-4, and single, how we can find a partner. As many of my listeners know, I am single and would love to be in a healthy, everlasting relationship. Also, please tell us about your business and how you help singles elevate in their relationships. And if they're single, how they can potentially find everlasting love.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. So my name is Alison, as you mentioned. I am a certified dating and relationship coach, and I primarily work with singles to help them find the love and commitment that they deserve. I know that you mentioned the big 4-4, but I have to tell you that navigating the dating scene for folks who are in their 40s or older is not much different than for folks who are in their late 20s or early 30s. Everybody's using the internet, just like we use the internet for everything else. I know a lot of times, though, those who are in their 40s and up don't feel comfortable because of how dating online used to be. So folks 20 years ago thought you had to be real sad and pathetic for you to be on a dating app, but that is no longer the case. So now what dating looks like, just like ordering food online, just like everything else we do online, it is the most practical tool for folks to use in order to find love.
Well, for us, I'm going to speak for some, we're scared. And that holds us back sometimes. Fear holds us back from being our greatest us. And the fear of dating online because of what we heard 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like, you date online, they're going to snatch you, they're going to kidnap you, they're going to do all these things to you. Mm-hmm. How would you help us navigate through that? Because I think, speaking for some, not all, because some will go out there and be like, look, I'm taking my chances. I'm finding love. I need love. And I don't say I need love. I want love. I want love to come to me naturally. I say I want to go out and date and find a special one. But to be honest, with COVID and all, do I really go out? No. I go out sometimes, but I go to the same places and see the same people.
So the first thing about having safety concerns, right? Safety concerns in regards to getting snatched up, or safety concerns in regards to COVID. The thing is that the same people who are on dating apps are the same people who are in person. So if you're willing to go out and meet people, quote unquote, organically in person, then you're going to meet literally the same people that you would have met if you met them on a dating app. Gone are the days that it's the weirdos and the folks who must be real desperate that are on dating apps. Good folks are on, bad folks are on, average folks are on, just like in organic situations. Now, in regards to what you said about wanting love to come to you naturally, I hear a lot of people say that. And I actually am a bit confused about when folks say that. Because from my perspective, what comes to you naturally? A college didn't come to you naturally and say, here's a degree. A job didn't come to you naturally and say, here's a paycheck, come work for me. I mean, very few times you get scouted, but relatively speaking, everything that we have in our life, we actively went and we went after it, right? So like, I shouldn't have to work this hard. What in life have you never had to work? You always have to work this hard. I have to work hard for everything. Get my hair done, make an appointment 3 weeks in advance. Like everything that we do in life, we have to put in effort. So if we're talking about, in essence, probably the most important decision that we're ever going to make is who we marry and who we have children with. And if we're talking about we don't want to work hard to discern and to choose the best partner that's for us, then that's wild. Like, you better work hard, you know?
So true. Wow. There you go with the mindset shift. You just changed my mind. Like, naturally, no, you want to work. Well, I know I want to work with the relationship, right? Because I am divorced, legally divorced. And one of my issues was communication. We didn't do the work together. We probably did the work apart. But when you're in a relationship, you both need to put in the effort. And communication and infidelity was one of our biggest things. But the infidelity came with not setting boundaries on my part. Because a person, I am a true believer, a person only does what you allow them to do to you. True believer of that. So I allowed the behavior and didn't really realize it until I started my journey to self-care. So when you allow a person to do what's their norm, it's not wrong to them, but it's wrong to you, but you don't say anything, or you say something and then you forget 5 minutes later. So that was one of my, downfalls, but communication was huge in our relationship. And when you're setting boundaries, that's part of communication.
Yes, absolutely. So you have to communicate. And I think everybody knows that. Like, that's like a given, right?
I think we say it.
Right.
But do we do it?
Right, exactly. And do we comprehend? So you can say all you want to say, but did that person understand what you were saying? Do they appreciate what you had to say? Did you say it in a way that they will then take action moving forward? Because I could say the same things to you in two different ways, which will cause you to have two different responses, right? I can say, Janell, I'm struggling right now. Do you think that I could borrow $50 so I could pay my phone bill? Or it could be, yo, let me get $50. What if this the same thing, me needing $50 from you, but me explaining the circumstance in a calm and respectful manner, right? And then following up with, I get paid in 2 weeks. I'll be sure to pay you back versus, yo, let me get. You're going to get two different responses. The first one might say, okay, Alison, no problem. I'll get the money to you. Cash App, PayPal, whatever. The other one is like, how dare you demand this from me? And so we have to be mindful of our tone and the way that people interpret our message. Because it's the same underlying thing. I need $50, but the way that I approach you is going to get you to respond in two very different ways.
Yeah, so true. Like, for instance, when I was in my marriage, I said to my husband, it hurts me when you cheat on me. I don't like when you do it. His response used to be, okay, I won't do it. We would leave it. I won't do it again. That's what he would say. And we would go on with the marriage of what I thought, quote unquote, and it would go back months later, the same behavior, not knowing that this is his norm. It's just not my norm. But I incorporated it into being my norm because I kept doing it. So when I look back on it, it wasn't really his fault. It was my fault. And when during this journey, I learned to point the finger inward because I always pointed out, well, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. Never said, well, what role did you play in the relationship? And that's huge because it's huge for me because I never realized that. I may have said it. Now, we all say things, right? We just say things and say things. We sound like broken records if we keep saying them. But when we don't put in the action, like you said, doing the work, what happens? We fall short on ourselves. But really quick to say you, and not me. In relationships.
And that's a really, honestly, a childish behavior. That when you do not take accountability for the mistakes that you've made, then you are behaving like a child. A child will never say that they did something wrong. That he pushed me, he hit me. They'll never say that, well, the reason why he pushed me or he hit me is because I took his cookies or I took his book or I did whatever, right? So we have to mature from childhood and a childlike mentality to adulthood and an adult-like mentality to talk about this is why the behavior is happening the way that it is. Now, not to say that you deserve to be cheated on.
No.
Right? Like, we're not saying that at all. But what we're saying is, how many times did you forgive without holding him accountable and perhaps allowed the relationship to last longer than what it should have? Right? Because at some point, it's going to be, this person's hurting me, but how long am I going to allow this person to hurt me? So, of course, there's accountability on both sides, and more him than you because he's the one who is violating your vows. But in the same token, I cannot allow my life to be ruled by someone else. I love to take accountability because life would suck if every decision I made was made by somebody else. That's slavery.
So
right? If I couldn't move the way I wanted to move and go to it. So I need to take accountability for my life. I need to know that I have full reins over it because that's the only way that it would be enjoyable to me. If I had this idea, well, I did this because of you, because of you, because of you. That means I don't have control over my life, which sucks. Who wants to live a life you can't control?
So true. And that's what goes with taking your power back, because we become powerless in unhealthy relationships. And I'm sharing this because I know there's someone sitting on a couch just going through this pain instead of, I'm taking my power back today. And that was going to be one of my posts today, is just understanding that we don't always have to be powerless. We can become powerful, but we got to know ourselves. And to be honest with you, Alison, me and my ex-husband, when I think of when we were dating, we didn't set boundaries. We didn't talk about what we like, what we want in a relationship. Do we want children? We just went with the flow. And that's most people, right? You find somebody, you like them, I'm just going to go with the flow. Then 5 years later, now you're talking about I want children or I don't want children. Like we wanted a son, and God blessed us with a son. But we didn't talk about what parenting looks like.
Yep.
So when he does stuff, I'm like,
yep,
you are the parent, not the child. You're the parent. But it wasn't conversations that we had during the dating scene. We didn't have a conversation during the dating scene about what cheating looks like to us. And he probably would have said, I'm going to be with you, but I like to have multiple women. Because some men are honest.
Yes.
We just think in our minds, or some women are honest. I want to use both sex. We're all honest, but what we put in our mind is, if you be with me, I'm going to change you.
And I'm going to prove to you that I'm worthy of committing to me exclusively. Or this is the other side of the coin too, is that sometimes folks are honest. Sometimes folks are dishonest, but even in their dishonesty, you can tell there's a hesitation, right? Like, unless you're dealing with a full-blown narcissist, which people like to throw that terminology around, and it does not exist as frequently as we like to imagine, right? We ignore the red flags and say, oh, he was so manipulative, he was a narcissist. You asked him in the dating, when y'all were dating, you asked him about his experiences, and he's 35, 37, 42. He says, oh, yeah, never been married, never had a serious girlfriend. What? That's the flag right there. So it doesn't have to be that the person is so super honest that says, Alison, I'm gonna cheat on you. I'm telling you right now. But if you 40 something years old and you haven't had a committed relationship and you just been on the dating scene for the last 20 something years, that's giving me the indication that you don't desire to be committed. You ask a grown person if they want to have kids, so if let's say you're in your 30s, early 40s, you still desire children, you're dating, you ask, what are your thoughts around children? They say, I never really thought about it. You 30 something years old, 40 something years old, never thought those are going to be the telltale signs. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that folks are going to be blatantly honest with you, right? That says, hell no, I don't want no kids. They may not, because they know that might not be the most desirable response that the average person wants to hear. I would say the average person probably wants children. However, they're going to give you a response that you have to pay attention to versus you thinking, oh, I can change somebody, or once they get a taste of my cooking, they not going to go. And, or my sexual prowess, I can convince them once they mess with me, they'll see there's nothing else out there for them. You're not here to convince nobody. You're here to align with like-minded folks who want the same things that you want. And so that brings up my point of what I teach people about how to navigate the dating scene is, before you even go out on the dating scene, you need to have a clear vision as to what you're looking for in a partner. I need to know what my own values and goals and desires are. What's the vision for my future with my partner? I need a clear vision of that, because if I don't know what I want out of a partner and I go on the dating scene, what kind of people am I dating? How am I vetting them? How do I know that they're at least seemingly appropriate for me and my lifestyle?
So true. And how many of us have thought about this before we go on a dating scene, right? I'm going to be honest. I've dated, I've been in relationships, but did I ever think of my wants? Yes. Now I know my wants. Like, you have to be a hardworking man. You have to be a man on the journey to self-care. You have to love yourself. And I'm not talking about getting your hair cuts, getting your nails done and your feet done, all that stuff that we use to mask ourselves. I want you to come up front. Those are some of my things. And my non-negotiable is cheating. And my boundaries are so real that I'm not only going to set the boundary, I'm also going to tell you, what hurts me, what doesn't. I'm also going to set a consequence with it, and I'm going to obey my consequence. Mm-hmm. And when I say obey my consequence, to know that this person from dating is going to show me their red flags. Within the first 3 months, I'm going to see who they are, what they're about, what they want to do, what they don't want to do, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm not going to say I'm going to love the red flags out of you. I'm not going to say when you get with me, that's going to be it. Right. That no longer will come out of my mouth, because I know I cannot change anyone.
Nope.
I don't have that magical power. I don't have it. I'm not a fairy. I don't go around sprinkling fairy dust.
Right.
I cannot change anyone.
And
I just can't.
And thank God that you can't, right? Because to go back to the former point of, I thank God that I have free will, that I have the ability to run and function my life as I see fit. I don't want the ability to change anyone. And let me tell you why. Because I don't want anyone to have the ability to change me. Whatever decisions I make, however I function in this world, however I live out my life, I want it to be my choice. So this idea of you can change someone, no, you can't. You can only change you. And thank God, because I wouldn't want anybody else to have the ability to really change me. I want to say that I have the ability to change me. I've made a decision, and maybe I'm influenced by you, right? So Janell, I'm watching you on social media. I'm listening to your podcast. I like what you have to say. And as a result of what you're telling me, it seems reasonable. It fits my life. So I'm going to consider what you have to say and then put some of those changes and implement them so that I can have a more fulfilling life, right? On my journey to self-care. But it's not that Janell could come over, like you said, with fairy dust and change who I am. Hell no. And it's my choice. I'm the one who chooses to change my lifestyle and to follow your direction because I like what you have to say and I think it's valuable. But I don't want anyone changing me.
I'm with you. But in our minds, because we're like, I'll love the red flags out of you. You used to be like that. Now you got with me. You're going to be like this. We don't have those powers. A person has to come in. And if a person comes on and I meet someone and they say, Janell, I was dating, but I wasn't dating correctly. I was doing this. I was selfish. I sat back and been alone. Like for me, I had to be alone. One of the things, part of my journey is be alone so that I could get to know myself. A lot of us walk around in relationships like we know ourselves. We don't know ourselves. And that's why people say, I've been with him so long. We just going to stay together, because it's comfortability. But I had to learn that uncomfortability is amazing. It's an amazing place in a relationship.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, Alison, what you do suggest online dating?
Yes.
How would that look for us who's not dating, or who is in a relationship? They just don't date their husband or their wife or their partner. How do you think of that? Because I know you deal with singles, but I know there's someone listening in a relationship. For single people, is there like a website or anything that you would recommend that for us to go on?
Yes. So, and I get this question like almost every day. And it in my highlights and my frequently asked questions on my Instagram. And the reason why I do that is because there is no hard and fast answer. People want to tell them, what are the good dating apps? What's good for you and what's good for me and what's good for somebody else is going to be all different goods. I can't answer that question. And why? All apps are created for an intended audience. So for the intended audience and that audience's purpose, the app is going to be amazing.
Right. Like Christian mingles, that would be perfect to go on the Christian website if you're a Christian.
Right.
Blackpeoplemeet.com. That would be another website. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So you might have millions of couples who meet and get married on Christian Mingle, but if you offer Christian Mingle to a Jew, they would say this is a terrible app. And it's not that it's terrible, it's just not an appropriate match for them. So the first thing that I tell people to do to figure out whether or not a dating app is a good match for them, because there is no hard and fast answer for anybody, is you need to Google and use the internet to use the internet. Google top dating sites in my city. Location, 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 right? Just like in real estate. So the first thing I need to find out are which are the top or the highest used dating apps in my city, in my town, in my whatever, right? Because again, it could be an amazing app for people in New York, but if you're in Oklahoma and that app don't work there or there's nobody on it, that's no use for you. So Googling first the top dating apps in blank city or wherever you're located. Now you have a demographic. Now you at least have human beings who are on the app. The next thing you need to do is figure out if you have a racial preference. Apps are many times going to be created around racial preferences, or you'll find that there are certain apps that tend to have more of a particular race than another. So this is like a optional. If that matters to you, that should be your second step. So you'll take the top 10 dating apps in your city. And if racial preference is something that's important to you, you're then going to Google what is the racial makeup of people on Match. And literally it will pop up. What is the racial makeup of people on a given Black People Meet? What is the racial makeup of people, right? So if that's important, if it's not, this is the next thing. And this is the last thing you're going to do. You take those top 10. If you dwindle it down based on race, you take whoever you have in step 2. Step 3, the final step, is to Google the average age of those on the app. Because location, those are demographics. Location, race, and age. You may not care about race as much, but people tend to care about location a lot, and they're going to care about age. So
absolutely.
I had people ask me all the time, what's a good dating app? And then usually my first question is, how old are you? That's my first question. Because race, people, sometimes they don't really care that much. And location, a lot of times these apps are national, but age will be a big deciding factor. And so if you tell me that you're 55 and you're trying to go on Coffee Meets Bagel, the average age is 35, that might not be a good look for you. You may have a hard time finding appropriate matches. But if you are 55, I ask y'all, you told me you're 55, and I'm going to say, okay, let's look into our time. Let's look into silver. Like there are apps for everybody. There are apps for small people. There are apps for people who have STIs, which is amazing because in those particular instances, you may have some difficulty on the dating scene. So it's amazing. That's what my point is. All is to say, dating apps are great for the intended audience. Look at demographics, use Google, spend 30 minutes of your life. 30 minutes will not kill you. And again, if you're not putting in effort for who you'll be with for the rest of your life, then what else you put in effort for?
So true. But the first thing you said early on while we were recording is first you have to work on you.
Yes.
Before you even launch the dating app, before you put in your demographics,
yes,
you want to know what it is you're looking for.
Yes.
What it is you want. Do you want children? Do you not want children? And knowing that during these dates, when you're going out with this individual, that you ask these questions.
Yes. Actually read the profile and believe what people say when they write it. If a guy is leaving something blank, it probably is because he knows his answer is undesirable. So what the top questions they ask about is, why are you on the app? What are you looking for? Do you want kids? Your location? They're leaving stuff blank. They don't care, or they know that the answer is undesirable and they don't want to turn people off. So I'm not saying that you would immediately like not respond or not send a message, but I'm inquiring. I'm inquiring because I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste your time either. And ask these questions. You have to know what you're looking for. You have to have those non-negotiables, and you're going to ask questions around them. You don't have to do it blatantly, right? It doesn't have to be like, well, I want a hardworking man. Are you a hardworking man? Because most people are going to say yes, even if they don't work hard. They're going to say yes, right? But if you say things like, well, tell me, what do you do for a living? And then they answer, and then you say, okay, so how many hours a week is that? And if they telling you it's 15 hours a week because it's a gig, that answers your question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or if they tell you this 80 hours a week, they're a workaholic, you know, you like attention. That answers your question. You need to be asking these questions early in the game. We don't do it, and then we're upset when people aren't who we believe that they were, versus us asking the right questions and listening when they actually answered us.
So true, because we all in this belief that we could love everything out of a person. You don't want kids? Oh, I'm going to make you want kids. You don't want this? I'm going to make you want this. Because of the mindsets that we have, that we're going to make this person be a parent. Like one of the things that me and my ex-husband, we never talked about what parenting looks like. So my son is 17. He's about to be 18. But to this day, I got to remind his father, I have to say this. You're the father, he's the child. Like, remind, y'all not on the same level. And then he'll fix it, most definitely, because we have an amazing relationship with co-parenting. But he'll be like, yeah, you're right. And then I got to say, why did you say that to him? That's not your friend. That's your kid. And because one of my flaws was, or one of my not so good when I was dating him, I didn't ask him what parenthood looks like to you.
Yep.
Simple questions that we can ask, that we don't ask. And could it be we're afraid of the answer? That could be.
And you know, the other side of it too is that you can also, like, you know, people probably think like, this is so awkward. You're just asking. You can also tell them what it looks like for you, because guess what? They'll separate from you if they don't think that you're appropriate, as they should, right? So if I'm having a conversation, I'm like, I'm married and I'm speaking to my husband before we were married, and I'm asking him about his parenting experience with his parents. And then I'm telling him about mine with mine. And I'm telling him, this is how I intend to parent. So I said, I got spanked, and my plan is to spank too. Like, I don't know yet, because we don't have no babies. Right. But I was spanked, and I think that I'm such a better person for it. And I learned such valuable lessons that I clearly remember hearing my dad's voice in 3rd grade. I stole money and he spanked me. And then he told me, go take a bath because thieves are dirty. I was 8 years old. I'm going to be 35 this year. And I remember that clear as day. Never stole again. I believe in spanking. So I'm going to tell you about my parenting style. I'm going to tell you about my boundaries. I'm going to tell you about my expectations. I'm going to tell you in advance. Because sometimes what people will do, instead of us asking, if I tell you and they deem it as inappropriate, maybe he would have said, I got whooped and it was an abusive situation for me. And I've always promised myself I would never lay my hands on my kids. Well, there you go. He's going to now separate himself early in the game before either one of us are invested. Who cares? We both had a nice meal out. We had a conversation. It didn't work and it's okay. But once the baby's here now and the toddler's here and I'm doing pop, 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 and he's grabbing me up talking about don't hit my child, now it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
That could have been avoided. So you can also proactively talk about what you intend to do so that the conversation is more balanced. I don't want people walking away thinking, oh God, I got to have 21 questions prepared. Just speak, be natural and share what you intend to do and how you see your life in the future. If you want to travel the world once you retire and this person don't even own a passport and hate planes, you already got your answer. Like,
yes, sir. Yeah.
That's the stuff. Have in-depth conversations about how you envision your life, what you intend to do, how you intend to live, retirement, investments, travel the world, island hop, live on a yacht, whatever it is. Talk, share, and listen.
So true. And for me, when I'm ready to go out on a dating scene, and I'm almost ready, I still have to do my list and have it down so I can know what it is. Because I have it in my head, but I don't have it written down. And I believe in the power of pen and paper. But going forward, like one of my things is don't want children, 1. 2, want to travel. So that's why I don't want children. Because I'm not traveling with a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old who touches everything but the toys. Not doing that anymore. Been there, done that. But if I was to meet someone and he say he want children, I would have to respect his wish to want children, but also explain to him that's not the position I'm in. And It's one of my non-negotiables to have more children. Been there, done that. And I work with children. So that's enough kids for me for a lifetime. But that's what I do. So I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. So hopefully I can, either tell this person and he keeps it moving. Like, I don't want Janell because Janell don't want children.
Right.
I want to go somewhere where I could be with someone who wants 50 kids. And that is fine. Right. But at least we had that conversation in the beginning and not after we were married.
Right. And then now we're talking divorce because something that's fundamental. Like, you know what I mean? Like, especially if you're older in age and where retirement is like 6-7 years down the line, it's not far. He ain't changing his mind. If he says, baby, I'm never getting on the plane. Good luck to you. I'm staying right here in New York City. I'm staying right here in Texas. Then how y'all going to function? These are things you need to be having, conversation you need to be having early in the game where nobody has anything invested so that they will be more likely to be honest. Nothing is perfect, but you also don't want to be the person who sets yourself up. And you set yourself up if you're not asking the right questions and you're not being forthcoming about how you envision your life in the future. What do you want out of this relationship? So on and so forth.
And that goes into something else I want to speak about. I am totally against extramarital affairs. But when you meet someone and they tell you they're in a situation, I know you heard this in your coaching program. I met him. He was in a situation because that's what they call it now. They call them situations. We have to be strong enough to realize that we don't want to play the situation game. Because they're on these dating apps as well. They're in the process of leaving, not sure, telling you they're sleeping on the couch. One is upstairs. It just gets insane. But we have to be powerful enough and say, I don't want to be in a situation. Because a lot of men and women tell when they're trying to date outside of their own mess, our own mess, these things, and we just go forth with them because the mindset, I'm telling you, the mindset is a crazy thing. And when I say crazy, I know there's no such thing as crazy, but when I say crazy, I mean that it'll play tricks on us.
Yep.
It will play tricks on us to thinking, once again, okay, they just in a situation, I'm going to keep dating and see where it goes. And then 5 years from now, they're like, look, I'm going back left. Instead of right.
Yep. And guess what? Anybody who agreed and signed up for it, the risk you took. It's the risk. So I'm asking people, I want to see documents. I want to see legally separated documents. I want to see divorce papers.
And that's healthy dating. That is healthy dating.
You're not asking for too much.
No.
I need to know. And if there's any documentation you want to see in mine, especially in this day and age, you want to see my birth certificate, you want to see my, my sexual designation at birth, we got to be careful because time.
Absolutely.
And we all have a right to want what we want with respect. And so if you know that a non-negotiable is I'm not dating married men, take accountability for what we accept. So if you're dating people in situationships and they're still legally married or what have you, then if and when they leave you, which is what they tend to do, to go back to their wives, which is what they tend to do, then that's going to be on you. I want to see documents. I want to see paperwork. I want to see 2 separate addresses. If I'm not dating anybody who's staying for the kids, then if that's the case, you need to stop dating until those kids are out the house. Like you have to also take responsibility for what you allow. And if you are giving people chance after chance, then you're taking a risk and that's on you.
So true. When I say so true, I really mean so true. So we just have to basically know what we want and start by writing it down, put it in for those that like to put notes in their phones, whatever your tool is. Write down your wants. Don't jump into dating. Know what it is you want.
Absolutely. You need clarity as to what you're looking for before you can go out there and get it. Back in the days, we used to have maps, so you mapped out the trip before you left. Then we went on, you went on the computer and put the
Google Maps. Yep, MapQuest.
Then we did MapQuest. And then from there, now we're on Google Maps and Waze, right? I don't pull off until I put the location in my Waze. So you can't pull off unless you have a clear vision as to where you want this relationship, dating, whatever it is you want, until you know exactly what you want, so you know where to go.
So true. So, Alison, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Before we end this podcast, Alison, can you just give us your last tip advice and then tell us what you do, how you could help us who are single, and how we could contact you?
Okay, so my last tip is in very particularly about approaching dating, and I have two. One of them is if you are trying to start dating, then you have to, one, go outside. You want to meet people outside, you got to go outside. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you'd be surprised how many people say they want to date and they're not going outside. You got to go. And then my second tip would be for those who are dating and they are willing to go online, which I highly recommend, make sure that you make it clear as to what you're looking for on your dating profile in a positive way. Use positive language. Nobody wants to be with a negative Nancy or a negative Nathan, right? So we're not coming on saying, and if you think cheating is okay, don't even message me. Instead, what you're going to say is, I am looking for someone who has integrity and who is honest. I'm looking for someone who is a person of their word, right? So you make it very clear as to what you want and you have it as a positive spin, not a negative one, because nobody wants to be with a negative Nancy or a negative Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in terms of where folks can find me, my name is Alison, and on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Clubhouse, everything. My website is at Align with Alison, ALIGN with ALISON, at Align with Alison. The website is alignwithalison.com. I'm most active on Instagram. So if you wanted to reach out to me and get me in 10 minutes, DM me on Instagram at Align with Alison.
Thank you so much, Alison, and thank you for giving us those tips on healthy relationships and how we could find love after 44, whatever age, because you say you help everyone, which is amazing to find love, but do it in a healthy way and not in a scared way, even though we fearful of online dating. But you surely helped me with opening my eyes to online dating because I don't go outside. So if I'm not outside, how am I going to find someone?
Right.
So that was an amazing tip. And I want to thank you for coming on. And I look forward to many more collaborations with you.
Yes, ma'am. Looking forward to it. Speak to you soon.
Okay. It's typical not until the demise of a relationship that we gain the clearest perspective about what actually transpired and where things went wrong. Warning signs we may have missed while we were caught up in the passion of a new romance or deep into a relationship in which we've invested so much time and effort into working suddenly become glaringly apparent. But as we're navigating a new romance and getting to know someone, it's important to look out for red flags in a relationship. These specific signs are telling of problematic behaviors and tendencies that could hurt you down the line. While Alison and I hope you love listening to this and learning from this episode, it is not meant to be a substitute for mental health treatment. For those of you who are ready to get started by talking to a self-care life coach or a relationship coach who can answer all of your questions about self-care and healthy relationships, I want you to schedule a free consultation with myself, JSSELFCA, at JSSELFCare.org, or a consultation with Alison at alignwithalison.com. If mental health treatment is needed, please don't hesitate to contact a therapist in your area. Self-care is important and necessary. Take care of you and continue to put you first no matter what. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and share. For daily doses of self-care affirmations and notes to self, make sure you join the JS Self-Care on most social media platforms. Also, make sure that you align yourself with Alison at Heal Align with Alison on most social media platforms. Our social media links will be placed in this episode show notes.